Hello and welcome back to part 4 of this tutorial of a lovely kingfisher. So in today's video we are going to be doing this area here, along here, the chest, and then hopefully get into that little mossy perch. So first of all we are going to grab our dark sepia and just plot out some of the darkest areas like we've done in the other areas. So we're going to get straight into it now and having a little look at our reference photo, bring a little bit more shadowing underneath the beak. So we did a tiny little bit of this sort of on the previous sections, but we'll go in a bit harder now. And just sort of focusing on where these feathers lie. Kind of coming up like this. So then when we layer some of the oranges over the top, look really nice. There's a few little darker bits. I'm going to go really lightly and just sort of where my graphite lines are, just sort of pop the dark sepia there just so I don't lose them. Right, and now we'll pop back up here and we'll get our, I think, what we're going to go for, so maybe a cold grey one. So you could use a cold grey one, or you could use the Silver Grey in the Luminance. Really hope you've been enjoying sort of this little kingfisher coming to life. So we've got like a patch of like bluey fur here, bluey green, and then it goes down into the orange and yellow. So we'll focus on the bluey green bit. So we'll do the green first, I think. So this is these are actually the Derwent Procolour. In the previous videos, I mistakenly took them for the Lightfast. They do look really similar in my defence. But I've put that all in the little description below, so hopefully that clears up any confusion. We all make mistakes. I mean, there's so many different coloured pencil brands out there, and they've all got their own different ranges and they do different things. Right, so just a really light shading of that one. We're going to go in with the really poppy turquoise. I'll put that in the lower layers. And then in with the blue from the same collection. So hopefully, as we've been building up all of these colours, you can see how the colours change depending on what's layered underneath. So this blue sort of looks definitely not as blue when it's layered over all of these. So we've already got a little bit of the cream in the Polychromos down that we did earlier. We'll be adding more of that. can go back in with the Silver Grey or the Cold Grey one. Just sort of meld those ones together. There's a bit more shadowing up here as well. Right, and then we'll get our dark sepia and we're going to add in some sort of finer feather details. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I just had a little stop there. I'm doing this whilst Willow naps, and yeah, for some reason she just sort of randomly got up and just started sort of flapping around, but she's fine, so I think she'll go back to sleep now. So yeah, we're just doing a few little feather marks here over the top of all those other colours. I've got the monitor like just here, like out of shot for Willow. It's funny, she's standing up now, but you know, I just gotta, you know, do a little bit of work as and when I can. She's fine, she's happy. Hopefully she'll snuggle down now, have a nice sleep. And I think what we'll do here is just darken this little bit up a bit, because sometimes, I mean, I don't know, sometimes I think this is in my mind, but sometimes when you leave a drawing for a few days, I swear the paper like absorbs some of the colour. So you might need to sort of go in and just darken a few little bits and bobs up. And it's probably because obviously you're adding in lots of other colours, so your darks aren't looking as dark anymore. But it's like the paper's like... I can see Willow on the monitor rolling around. Funny. She's got a sleeping position, so she'll often sort of roll around, wiggle, wiggle, and then she'll like kind of curl up in this. So she likes to sleep sort of all snuggled up with the little comforters. Very cute. She's a very cheeky little baby. She's looking up at the camera now, I can see her. Hopefully I'll get, you know, at least a good half an hour done, but we'll see. Right, so enough about Willow. She's very cute, but she's quite distracting here. Let's get into the orange. So, whoop, we've got the lovely orange from the Derwent range, but I'm just going to show you, hang on, let me just sharpen this. I'm just going to show you the cadmium orange from the Polychromos. So, you know, if you don't have that particular orange, you can, you know, use alternatives. So we're going down sort of the chest of the Kingfisher, and we're making sure we're going in the right direction. I think what I might do actually, before we crack on with this orange, I'm realising that I think we need a white base and a bit of the cream underneath. So we'll get our Luminance, our white, or you can use the Polychromos white, that'll be fine as well. And we'll just put a little layer down. So even though we're sort of like trying to shade in quite a large-ish area, we're still going in the direction of the feathers. So if you've been following on, you would have heard me say that It was Willow's birthday. She is now 1, which is pretty amazing, like fastest year of my life. Other parents will probably agree. On the second, things go a lot quicker. And I'm just going to go over this orange that we've done just to make sure we've got all those layers in. Right, now let's hop over to our lovely cream, which is sort of like a lemon, really light lemon yellow. This is sort of like, I would say this is like lemon meringue. If I was to name this colour, I would have called it lemon meringue. So do a little base of this on all these little feathers. Because having that white and the yellow underneath the oranges will help lift them and make them pop a bit more. Like we did up here in this area. Just take away some of the graphite. Oh, what did I do with my eraser? Now, these kneadable erasers, where they are amazing, they literally look like Play-Doh. So they look like Play-Doh. So if you have them on your desk and you've got, you know, kids around, Violet loves to make little models out of them. And, you know, I'm not one to stifle her creativity, but it's a bit annoying when I'm looking for it and I can't find it because it's turned into a cat or something. But then like I don't want to, you know, sort of squash it because she'll be a bit sad. So yeah, luckily I keep a little spare one on the side there. A little bit more lemon yellow up here. Right, so now we'll go back with our orange now. I think that was a better plan of action. So we've got a darker piece coming in here. And then when you're sort of like looking at areas like this, just try and sort of think about the different shapes that you can see, the sort of different, almost like the negative space of the feathers. And you might want to, you know, change from like a light sort of shading like this to something a little bit harder pressure. So you can get a variety of different tones from one pencil. This bit down here is quite a dark feather, must be a bit wet. So we'll put a bit of brown in that one. It's a really lovely colour. Willow has stopped rolling around now. She's in optimal sleeping position. So when we start doing the green behind this orange patch, I think it's going to look really, really nice. And also orange and blue together look amazing because they're opposite colours on the colour wheel, so they complement each other. Right, we'll go back up to the top again. I like to kind of go from the top to the bottom in certain areas. And then, hang on, let me swap it out for the lovely orange from the colour pencil. Wait, where are you? There. The colour pencil range, just so you can see then. Ooh, sorry. The shades are fairly comparable. definitely a harder pencil. Like it feels harder to when you're pushing down on the pencil. It's quite hard to describe actually. I watched this really interesting YouTube video the other day. It was by Faber-Castell, and it was about how they actually make their colour pencils and why artist pencils are so expensive. Yeah, it was so interesting. So they have like a secret sort of mix that they use for each pigment to bind it into the pencil, and they use like cedar wood to encase it. Oh, sorry, I've just realised you went off the page again. I've got to stop doing that. Please feel free to tell me off there. Yeah, so like each pigment, so I didn't know this, so each pigment of colour is different shapes. So you can get like round pigment, like down at the molecular level. They're all different shapes, so they have to be sort of binded with lots of different ingredients in order to keep the pencil sort of in the right shape, so you can sharpen it a lot and it won't break. And they have special like testers for pencils to make sure that they don't break under pressure. Right, so we're going down a little bit more on here. I think these need to be yellowed up a little bit, but up here is a little bit more orange. So if we use the harder pressure, we'll be able to get some more lines of the actual feathers going in. So when I'm shading, I'm using a light pressure, and then when I'm sort of going in to make these harder lines, I'm pressing a lot firmer on the pencil there. So we'll go in with the lemon, not lemon, that's not the real name, cream. Just lighten a few bits here. Sometimes I'll use like a shading motion to sort of fill in the gaps a little bit. Apologies that my nail's fallen off as well. I don't think it looks very nice, but you can't see it all the time. I'll sort that out later. Oh, that's looking really nice. So I'm also going to bring in that colour. Where did it go? Terracotta, this was it. The Terracotta from the Polychromos to add a little bit more detail in here. I'm going to just sharpen it with my manual one. The manual, the Derwent Super Point, just helps get a little bit sharper. So that will help us get a little bit more detail in. So kind of like focusing on where I put those lines, the harder pressure with the cadmium orange or the orange from the Procolour. What's really nice is those Derwent pencils are like working really nicely with the Polychromos and the Luminance. Obviously they're all, you know, they're all different brands, but you do want all these pencils to sort of work nicely together. Yeah, watching them being made in that video was really cool. Really satisfying seeing like all of the pencils sort of lined up, and so they like these big machines like press all the pigment together and then to form it into like a little tube, and then they like these wood bits come over and they slot in the pigment. Yeah, it's really, really clever. I'm sure you can go in to some of the big pencil, like they have like, I'm sure Derwent has got a museum actually up north somewhere. Oh no, I feel like it's near the Lake District. I'll have to go up there one day to have a look. Obviously Faber-Castell's German, so I'd imagine they're kind of, you know, if you wanted to go to the factories you'd have to go to Germany. And then Caran Dash, I think, is Swiss. See how we're like building up that texture and creating that illusion of lots of different feathers in here? This is quite dark under here. Right, so a little bit more here. And then we're like pretty much done with the main event. A little Kingfisher here. I'm going to get the walnut brown in there too, actually. So the tips of these little feathers. Sometimes you're trying to work out the actual anatomy of the bird. She's got cheeky. She's got like darker bits coming down. Right, and then back here we've got a few little sticky bits because it's sort of like the perch is a stick but kind of covered in moss. So we will pop in some of the marks of the tree and then we'll go in with a green. The stick kind of comes. This is where I would say artistic license is definitely encouraged, because you're definitely create. Oh, did I go off again? No, must stop doing it. Yeah, you're like your artistic license to create that look. Okay, so kind of this is all sort of mossy here. And then we've got a darker bit kind of coming in here. I'm sort of doing more like rounded, irregular pattern here. That's this bit here. And then here's the edge. Oh, I just need to sweep away some of these little dusty bits. Just sort of want to mark out where all these little bits are. I don't know if you can see there's a little mark up here, but the trusty kneadable eraser, that's not in the shape of a cat, can just lift all those away. Okay, so this is like that little stick. So the stick's coming along here. It's got like a knobbly bit there, and then coming down here, and then another branch there, and then all the moss is on it. So we'll focus on the little moss over here. So, right, what colours are we going to need? We're going to need the earth green, and we're going to need the green from the Derwent one. I feel like this might be a bit strong on its own, but let's have a little look. Oh, no, it's not too bad. So the moss is sort of like what's the best way to describe it? Wiggly spider web. So we're doing a sort of shading, light and steady, just to slowly start building up this colour now. And I think my plan of action for this will be a bit of artistic license. So, you know, we don't need to get every little wibbly bit in. And building up the layers and adding a little bit of definition. And I'm using kind of like irregular marks. Can you see how I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place? Because that will help us with the texture. Right, let's lift away. So I have done a line drawing, but you know, it's more just like the rough shape of it. And also you don't, you know, looking at the reference photo, you definitely do not need to put the whole lot in. I might cut this little bit out and just keep it in more of a branch shape. Obviously, you know, you can follow the reference photo, that's great, but you know, when it comes to like backgrounds or you know what the Kingfisher is sitting on, you can put as little or as much as you want in. You are the artist, so it's your choice. I'm just looking at the monitor now, and Willow's rolled just out of shot. She must have curled right up in the corner. Babies move so much when they sleep. It's mad. Like, she's like half awake, but she's half asleep, half awake, and she's just rolling all over the place. Okay, and then that's coming over here. We're going to burnish this all out with the white. So yeah, with the moss, like definitely do as much or as little as you'd like. You know, you're definitely, you know, doing, if you're putting in just a little bit just to kind of ground the bird into the environment, or if you'd like to really challenge yourself and like, you know, get really into trying to draw the moss exactly. I mean, some artists will sort of add in their own backgrounds. Pastel, not pastel, pan pastel is really good for that. yeah, I think I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. I'm going to choose to, I quite like that composition. Just down here a little bit. It's not too much, it's not too little. So we'll graphite away that bit. Oops, all right. Sorry, I've got the camera quite close to the paper and I just knocked you a little bit there. You, as if you're inside the camera. Okay, now we won't burnish it yet, we'll do the earth green. So a similar process where, oh, this is way darker. Oh, that surprised me. I don't know why though. So I think I'm going to try and focus this green where the sort of tree, the little bit of a stick is underneath. I think this year one of my goals is to try and do, you know, botanical or flower, because I absolutely love fresh flowers. I think the repetitive pattern aspect of it will be really challenging. Can you see how, hopefully that you can see whilst we're doing this, how things are building up? I think probably the process of this one will be burnishing it all out with the white and then going back in with the same colours. I don't think we're going to need another green. We're using two different greens and I don't really want to sort of add in many more colours now. Oh, this is nice, blended with the brown we've got over here. Right, let's get that white. Should I use the Polychromos white? Where should be? I'll just show you. So it will burnish it out, but it does take a little bit more pressure. So if you haven't got any of the luminance, you know, you can still use this white. Another difference I find is the application. It's a much sort of smoother, I want to say like buttery lay down. It's because the luminance, when they're making up the pigments, they put like a wax base on it, rather the Polychromos oil. You can see when you burnish it out, it knocks the colour back. A lot of the time with colour pencils, if you think you're done with the portrait, you're probably not. Just burnish it all out and then relay the colours again. And yeah, it'll help you achieve like richer colours. I mean, you can tell by the length of this tutorial, they are not a fast medium. There's something I love about them actually. So I'm still using the same sort of movements, that kind of like irregular, irregular wiggly. sort of a little like say if you were like doodling in a little notepad and you just wanted to fill a page of little scribblies. I feel like that technique's working quite well on this moss. So a little bit more. Sometimes it's hard to see where you've burnished and where you haven't, but you kind of keep going. Just make a mental track. Oh, hang on. So sometimes it's just good to keep like a little mental track of like where you've been, or go across sort of a little bit more, sort of, you know, start from here and round, or I started down here. I kind of went down here. And having a nice sort of thick layer in between our like lower down layers, when we go in with the little slicey, we'll pick up sort of quite a lot of, well, I'm hoping we'll pick up lots of sort of multi-tones. So just going to make sure that this has got a nice layer on it by just going over it again. So I'm pressing quite hard now. You can almost see the pigment like underneath, sort of swelling about. Right, now our lovely greens. Oh, we'll do the brown first actually. Let's get the darker browns. I think this is going to need a bit of dark sepia on actually, because it is quite dark. So just right underneath the bird. And this bit is quite dark too. There's a few little darker marks around here that you can kind of pop in by lightly going in. And this little bit, there's a little bit that's sticking out. I'm sort of going to put more of the dark sepia along the bottom of this one. And then the brown. And there is a little bit of brown under here, so if we bring that in, that will help sort of the eye will kind of slowly bring these together to make it like, oh yeah, there's like a little branch underneath. Okay, now our greens again. So this time we are just trying to deepen up the colours. And some of the moss is sort of slightly out of focus. See, this kind of looks so different when you press harder. So then you have, you know, this is the shade of this colour, but they make different colours, you know, depending on how you're using them. It's almost sort of this kind of green up in this bit. And I think this in the brown will look nice. And back over here. See how this is like come alive like quite quickly, this sort of greeny mossy bit. This looks a bit disjointed. Okay, I'm going to go in with the walnut brown now and just do a few little marks in here because I'd like the brownish to look a little bit more obvious under here. And this should help us achieve that. Really nice. See, I'm actually holding the pencil like this, so I actually can't put enough pressure, like that much pressure on it. So I'm just using this walnut brown just to try and connect up those sort of brown bits that kind of looked a bit like they were like floating. Bit of shading under here. And right, and then we'll go back in with our earth green. I'm going to give this a sharpen with the manual one. Just get it really sharp there. And try and pick up a few more sort of more accurate shapes of this moss. Sometimes with colour pencils it's quite a good little tip to shade in like a background fairly loosely and then, you know, focus on more of the details as you get into the higher levels. I feel like these little scribbly, scrawly lines are really effective of creating that look that we would, want. Even going over the brown here, tie it all in together. here. Little one sticking up there. So yeah, you could definitely go in, you know, as much as or as little as you wanted on that bit. I think I am almost done here. Having a little look at it. Yeah, I feel like that looks really, really nice. Sometimes when you're, you know, doing art, there is a point where you need to know when to stop. You know, we want to have lots of detail in the bird, but you could keep going and keep going with certain parts, like going over wing feather over and over and over again, but it's important to know when to stop and be like, yeah, I think that's done. I don't even know if I'm going to use the slice tool actually. I don't think I will. I say when to stop as I'm carrying on. Especially if you're really enjoying the colours. It can be quite hard to stop actually. But yeah, that is pretty much our finished piece. Right, let me zoom you out. Ooh. So it's pretty much our finished piece. So I'm going to zoom you out now and we'll have a little look at it. So here we have the final Kingfisher. I've gone ahead and signed it. I encourage everybody to do the same. It's always good to take ownership of your work and sign it, even if it's just for you. So I feel like this one was so good. We like the punchy oranges, the punchy blues and greens. If there's any sort of future animals you'd like me to do, please drop me a comment down below. And I can't wait to get on with the next tutorial. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. See you later. Bye.